Okay, so welcome to Minneapolis. In another universe, that's probably the right opening for this program, but not in the universe where you and me are sharing oxygen. I don't know, Zach, do you want to recreate the end of yesterday's show? If you could bring the music down, that'd be great. There we go. So as we're doing the thank yous and the goodbyes to yesterday's program, like honestly, I think I'm into thanking Greg, thanking Eric Erlinson, who by the way really caught it on social media yesterday after talking about the Florida Panthers not answering the bell. You haven't followed any of those threads, but there are some irate Florida Panthers fans coming off yesterday's interview with Eric Erlinson. But nonetheless, I don't think he cares. I don't think he minds. It's all good fodder. But as we're going off and I'm thanking everybody, we get the email. Flight has been canceled. Move to 6:45 tonight. The layover in Chicago. The odds of us actually getting to the World Junior Hockey Championships by this point, I don't know. I want to say 50-50, but then I say 50-50 about just about everything in life, Zach. It's either going to happen or it's not. Everything in life is 50-50. It'll either happen or it won't. That's it. That's the odds. That's the odds for everything in your life. It's going to happen or not. That's it. 50-50. That we actually made it there. So we'll see. We'll try it again tonight.
That was literally right as you were wrapping up. Wrapping up, saying goodbye, saying thank you. Email comes through. We're very sorry. Flight's been canceled. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Well, we'll try again tomorrow.
What I've learned in this industry is people don't like to hear travel complaints or travel stories from media members. So we'll knock it off now, other than we're going to try to get to Minneapolis later on tonight. And I will remind everybody, if you ever find yourself in a situation like this and you need a moment of calm and you need a moment of zen, this comes from my good friend Dennis Bayak years and years ago. I'd rather be down here wishing I was up there than up there wishing I was down here. Just remember that. We're going to talk a lot about the juniors today. We should talk about the Buffalo Sabres as well, who, as we like to say, Zach, they may never lose another game again. And it has to be done with that cadence, too. They may never lose another game again. Beat the St. Louis Blues yesterday. Nifty little win. Welcome back, Rasmus Dahlin, who's back to the lineup for the Buffalo Sabres. Anyway, coming up on the program today, it is time now for the Blueprint. What you're about to listen to and or watch, and both, here on the program. The Blueprint is powered by FanDuel. Download the app today and play your game on FanDuel. So coming up on the program in a couple of moments, he is the general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets. He is Don Waddell, who yesterday sent Yegor Chinakhov to the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's been active as well, picking up Mason Marchment from the Seattle Kraken and beating the Ottawa Senators last night. And he had his own travel woes, or his whole team, rather, had their own travel woes getting to Ottawa yesterday. Stephen Ellis from Daily Faceoff, who covers the juniors, covers the prospects. He'll be aboard coming up towards the end of the hour. We'll talk about what we saw yesterday, focus in mainly on USA and Canada, but also the whole World Junior Tournament as well. Some surprises, some twists, some turns, some players that have exceeded expectations and others that may have fallen a little bit short so far. I always like to remind people about this tournament. You know, scout after scout will tell you, don't read too much. Don't read too much into what you see over the course of a couple of weeks after Christmas at this World Junior Hockey Championship, the U20. It is primarily a development tournament to see where everybody stands against each other in their sometimes draft class, but certainly in their peer group. So this is like a 2-week slice of their careers. Scouts watch these players for years and don't just read too much. Like we've seen teams before, and this happens on various draft lists. Someone has a great World Junior Hockey Championship, and you say to yourself, well, this guy's got to be higher on the list. I just saw him play. Yeah, you saw 2 weeks. You saw 2 weeks. Scouts do this for a living and see years and years and years for these players. But nonetheless, this is more than anything else, I think, for casual hockey fans, and maybe even some hardcore hockey fans as well. It's a great way to start to get introduced to a lot of these players. You know, once upon a time, it seemed like, and maybe more so in the States than in Canada, it seemed like hockey players came from like a random factory in Canada. And you didn't really have the backstory. You didn't know who they were. Your teams drafted them, and then where do they come from? What's their backstory? I don't know. You're going to have to wait till they get to the NHL and those stories start to get told. Well, tournaments like this, and I will always, by the way, TSN's done a marvelous job with this in Canada. CBC previously had this tournament, and it was always a big deal, but nothing to the extent that TSN has done with it. I always go out of my way to mention how much EJ Radek really helped hockey in a number of profound ways. But for the purposes of the World Juniors, he was the one that would lobby for years and years and years for the NHL network to get on board with this. That if there was not going to be a U.S. rights holder that was going to air it or do anything with it, it was up to the NHL network, and they are doing it. They are very much doing it. And it's a great thing, because now all of a sudden, by the time James Higgins gets drafted by the Boston Bruins, you don't have to look very far to find the story. And chances are, even if you haven't seen him at college, you've seen him play hockey generally here at the World Juniors, which is a really big deal now for hockey fans everywhere. So it's a great way to get the backstory told. And so when, your team drafts said player, you have an idea of who they are. Other sports have this. By the time a kid makes it to the big leagues, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, football, whatever, you already know the story, where they've come from, and who they are. Hockey, not so much. Although now that is changing. And again, a long-winded story here, but I'm always at this time of year reminded of how much lobbying and how much hard work EJ Radek did to make sure this thing got on the NHL network. So all hockey fans get a chance, not just in Canada watching TSN, but all hockey fans in North America get a chance to watch some of these players. So we'll get into this with Stephen Ellis. There is a sidebar to Don Waddell in all of this. Now, we're going to talk a lot about, obviously, Columbus issues with Don Waddell, but also we should bring up his World Junior Hockey experience. Don Waddell was on the U.S. team in 1977, which was the first IIHF sanctioned World Junior Hockey Championship. Now, Soviet Union won that one. They had won the three previous that weren't sanctioned by the IIHF. Soviet Union would run the table. Canada used to send their Memorial Cup champions. So that year, it would have been the St. Catharines Finn Cups. Other countries would put together, essentially all-star teams to go. But Don was on the original one. He was one of the OGs in the first tournament. Dale McCourt, Slava Faceoff would have been there. John Anderson. I think McCourt and Anderson went 1-2 in scoring. So anyway, it is from its very humblest beginnings to what you see now, which is a very slick television event and very sophisticated, not just competition between U20 hockey players, but a way for scouts to evaluate and see players competing against one another to see where they rank and how they mix with one another. It's become a colossal tournament, and I'll tell you what, it's a tournament that, in some ways, is more interesting than something like the Olympics. And yeah, we're waiting for Olympic rosters to be released. I know that. In the sense that there is still a mystery about a lot of these players that we don't know, specifically European players who we don't really get a chance to watch. Like, unless you're someone that works at Elite Prospects and you're watching Ivar Stenberg tape every day, this is your chance to watch them. So there's still a sort of air and an area of mystique around these players. It's kind of like the way international tournaments used to be until the Iron Curtain fell. Part of the thrill of, my first big one was 76 with the Canada Cup. And I still remember my dad talking to me about a young Peter Stastny and talking to me about Vladimir Zarilla and Yuri Holacek. Vlad Zarilla, who was Dominik Hasek's favorite goaltender growing up. But these guys only existed, they existed in two places. These guys existed in the sort of make-up world of myth, and you just sort of hear about, and they would exist on the pages of the Hockey News. And I was a really, really early subscriber to the Hockey News, and I could not wait till every Thursday it would show up, and I would just devour it. And that's where you hear about these players. And then in the international tournaments, you actually get to see them play. What we now get in international hockey, you see at the World Championships, you saw at the Four Nations, you'll see at the Olympics as well, is essentially a bunch of NHLers just divided differently. Not on the teams that own their contracts or hold their contracts, but rather the countries that they're from. But there's not a whole lot of mystique because it's still all the same guys. You just see them playing on different teams. And for the World Juniors, there still is an air of, I want to see what these guys look like. I've heard about them. I've seen some clips on the internet, but now I want to get a chance to actually have a full eyeball and have a look at some of these players. And that's one of the reasons why I've always loved this tournament. Our first guest, though, played in the very first IIHF-sanctioned World Junior Hockey Championships, humbly called the U20s. He is Don Waddell, not just here to talk about that, but also to talk about his team, the Columbus Blue Jackets, coming off a big win last night against the Ottawa Senators, where once again the goaltender was a star. Jack Greaves playing back-to-back. I'm not sure how your analytics department felt about that. I always thought the analytics guys said, don't do that. But first of all, Don, thanks so much for stopping by today. How are you?
I'm good, Jeff. Thank you for having me.
Before we get into the trade yesterday, and I want to talk about Mason Marchment, CBJ, I want to get some time about Jack Greaves as well. I was telling your story a little bit going back to 1977, which would have been the fourth U20 tournament, but the first one officially sanctioned by the IIHF. Like that is the root then to the fruit now of what we're seeing. And we found a picture on the USA Hockey website, and there you are, third from the right, 5'9", 5'10" defender for Team USA. What do you remember from? And that's the picture taken in the then Czechoslovakia. What do you remember from that team, that tournament? And it's nowhere to what it is today. But take us back to 77 before we get into Blue Jacket stuff.
Yeah, it was interesting because, like you said, it's the old Czechoslovakia where there was tanks on the road, streets, all guards everywhere with carrying rifles and that. So it was a new experience for all us young people coming from the States. But I can remember the tournament being well attended.
Yep.
We didn't win a lot of games, but they were competitive. Overall, I found out what the black market was because I went over with a suitcase full of clothes and came home with none. Because they wanted to buy anything you had in blue jeans and everything else. So it was pretty interesting experience. But I do remember because these gentlemen came up to our room and bought the stuff from us, and the guards downstairs told us after that we're lucky we're alive because we're letting people in our room to buy our clothes. But yeah, it was a great opportunity for me. And looking back at it, 50 years is hard to imagine, but it was a lot of fun.
Slava Faceoff was a star in that tournament. Ben Gustafson, Washington Capital great, was a star in that tournament. John Anderson and Dale McCourtin. Like, you're nodding because you remember all these names. Like, this would have been maybe the first time you'd played against Faceoff in your career.
Oh,
like,
100%.
What was it like playing against all these? I was saying, like, the thing about these tournaments is that the U20, it's a lot of guys that you never have seen before play. Like, what was it like playing against some of these players that you only read about in the Hockey News?
Yeah, it was interesting about a guy like Faceoff. These guys, until you actually see them, you know about them, but until you actually see them. And I can remember we went over, I think when we got there the first day, we went over, we didn't play, we watched a couple of the games. And when you put your eyes on these players, some of the great Canadians like Dale and Johnny, you say, wow. This is a whole other level. Here's most of us are college kids coming over. I was a sophomore in college, and so it was quite the experience. And then obviously I was fortunate to play the next year, where it was Gretzky's year, and that was a whole nother avenue for me to be able to play against him.
Quick final thought on this too. Like, this is like, you look at how far USA Hockey has come now. And, United States, like you mentioned, that tournament in 77, you beat Sweden and you tied Poland, and you lost the other games, and USA came in seventh. And now they are the, two-time defending World Junior Championship champions here. and you look at, how this program has developed, and like they could three-peat. They could very well three-peat. I have a quick thought on what's happened with USA Hockey in 50 years.
Well, if you go back and look at stats, it was something like in the NHL at that time, 5% of American players, and how the U.S. Across our country, the grassroots programs have just spiraled in all these. We're drafting kids from every state now. It was Michigan, Minnesota, Massachusetts before. Now we're drafting kids from every state, and it's such a credit to USA Hockey how they've been able to develop all these programs and all these non-traditional hockey markets at that time. Obviously, California was a big one when Wayne got traded there. Yep. And then, Florida, when Florida started talking about having teams, their hockey took off. Same in Texas. So very non-traditional hockey markets have started becoming very big youth programs.
Well, listen, take a bow, because that was the origins, and now we're seeing USA every year at every level, competitive with all the other top countries. Okay, the Chinakhov deal. One of the things that I think struck people right away is it's an in-division deal, right, to another metropolitan team. And the one thing that I wondered about here is, I wonder if there's like a Metro Division tax. That maybe, okay, if you want me to trade him in the Metropolitan Division, it's going to cost you X, but if it's the Central, it's not going to cost you X. Is that accurate, or was this the deal that it was going to be regardless of what division he went to?
Yeah, I never look at it that way. Obviously, you're aware of it, but I always say, don't worry about what you're giving up, so don't worry about that. Worry about what you're getting. And if this is the best deal, regardless of what team it is, then let's move on it. Obviously, we had multiple teams in the mix of it, but Pittsburgh from start when this all started, Kyle and I have talked about this more than him and I probably talked to our wives, but he's always been very, very courteous and very aggressive as far as trying to make a deal. So, it came together. We came out of the freeze there and started talking to teams, and Kyle stepped right up there, so we made the deal with Pittsburgh.
I'm always curious about any type of deal. Like, what is the one piece that gets it over the finish line? Is it I wonder, okay, is it, the minute the Dubas said, okay, I'll throw in a second, does that like close it? Is it the play? Is it Danton Heinen? Like, was there one thing, Don, that was like, if you can do this, then we have a deal?
We had some players offered to us that we weren't comfortable with, just with Heinen. We just felt that, he's got a lot of experience. I go back to the trade deadline last year. We wanted some experience, went out and paid some 5th and 6th round picks just to add some depth. Well, we got that player now, and we got him early, so we run across injuries. He's here in our organization, and he'll get a chance to play. Obviously, the picks were important. We've given up our 2nd round pick and a 4th round pick to get Marchment. So to get a second back was very important to us. And then, being able to get the 3rd for the following year. Draft capital, I always say you're going to use it two ways. You're going to draft players that you hope become Blue Jackets in the future, or we're going to use them to make our team better. So it's always nice to have that draft capital, be able to, if you need to make a move, using those pieces.
You mentioned Mason Marchment a second ago, and I want to pick up on him. But one more final thought here on the Chinakhov deal. Were you surprised, caught off guard? I don't know how to describe it at the trade request, at how things had gotten to a point where the player wanted a change of scenery?
Yeah, because I met with him at the end of last year. He wasn't happy at the end of last year. He started off the season very well. He's one of our best players, and he got hurt. When he came back, you miss 2 months of the season, you're never going to be up to speed. And then we didn't win some games. And then toward the end, we start winning games, putting ourselves back into it. And he was out of the lineup and didn't get back in. Dean didn't make a lot of changes to the lineup when things were going well. So when we had our meeting at the end of the season, it was okay. He was disappointed, but didn't expect this. So when it came out in the summertime, and I think, we talked about it with him and his representation at that time, it was not probably the thing he wanted to. Sometimes you speak in Russian and you forget that everything's going to travel everywhere these days. So we were disappointed to hear about that. I've been doing it for a long time. I've had a lot of players that make trade requests. It's the first one that became so public. So we had that but then, come training camp, I told the agent that, we'll see what we can do, but, he's an asset to us. I'm not just going to part ways because the player asked for it. And I give him credit. He came in 2 weeks before camp. We came in great shape. And then, we started the season, and it was playing some games in and out, playing 10 minutes some nights, 15, 16. And we could tell it wasn't going to work. And so we got to a point where we just said, right about December there, I said, we'll get through. We had some injuries at that time. We'll get through these injuries. And then once we picked up Marchment, it gave us the flexibility of moving Chinny on. And that's why right after the break, we did it.
With Mason Marchment, and I will get to the Islanders incident here in a couple of seconds. I'm always curious about how long have you wanted the player? How long have you wanted Mason Marchment?
Well, I was in on him when he signed in Dallas when I was still in Carolina. We were right there at the finish line with him, and so I'd done a lot of homework on him, not only as a player but as a person. And unfortunately, at that time, for Carolina, he decided to go to Dallas. So I followed this player pretty closely throughout his career, and it was in a spot in Dallas where I don't think Jimmy Neal really wanted to trade him, but he had cap issues and had to make a move, and goes to Seattle, and then for whatever reasons, it didn't work out, or Jason felt that it was time to move him on. So we were very aggressive of trying to get him when he became available.
This is a pretty physical hockey player, as you well know. Anyone who's watched Mason Marchment play knows. You already have the toughest player in the NHL in Matthew Olivier. I really do wonder, is it kind of are we getting back to this idea that it just can't all be skill? It's been such a race to skill the last 20 years in the NHL. Is the pendulum swinging back, and there'll be more Mason Marchments that are in more demand for NHL teams? Like, here's what I wonder about, Don. Essentially what I'm trying to get at here is, in an NHL world where everybody can skate and everybody can shoot and everybody can play make, as a manager, do you find yourself asking, what else can a player give me? And is that thing, what Olivier and what Mason Marchment can do?
Yeah, no, it's a great point, great question. For us, we feel like we got some pretty good skill players, a little bit on the smaller size. We go back to last summer, and we had Charlie Coyle and Mile Wood. Bigger bodies. We got the Kent Johnsons are very high-end skilled players that are not big players. So we always had intention to try to get a little bigger, and we did that in the summertime. And then obviously Mason brings that too. So I don't think it's swinging. It's maybe as fast as every team's got a different makeup of what they need. Some best teams in the league right now, their forwards are very talented, but they're big. And, so we felt with our team, with some of our skill guys being a little bit on the smaller side, that continue to add some size that can play. Because in this league, you can't have guys that can't play. That we're going to certainly look at that. And, we felt Mason was a guy that would add to our hockey club.
This is a really active team, right? Like in the last couple of weeks here, you've been right at it, trying to bring in, and in Chinakhov's case, remove from. When you look at your squad right now, like, I'm a big fan of Boone Jenner, right? We talk about those intangibles. We just talked about a couple of seconds ago with Mason Marchment. Like, I remember going down the street from my house to go watch the Oshawa Generals play all the time, and I used to come back and just Boone Jenner, Boone Jenner, Boone Jenner, Boone Jenner. I always wonder, like, how often do other general managers call? Like, hey, you having a hard time getting him signed? What's going to happen with Jenner here? I know that's not someone that you'd want to part with, but is there an update on anything with, like, I wonder about a couple of players. I wonder about Mason Marchment. I wonder about Boone Jenner, and I wonder about Charlie Coyle as well.
Yeah, and what I've told represents that representation throughout the year is let's get through to the break. Let's get to the Olympic break. Boone was coming off an injury last year where he missed a lot of games, and I said, let's make sure he gets back to where he wants to be and we want him to be. And certainly he missed a little time this year, but if you watch our games, he blocks shots. He does everything that you could ask a player to do. So the way I look at it, I don't worry so much about UFAs. There's a time you got to make a move, of course. But if a player, I look at it that with this year, particularly with the Olympic break, if a player wants to be here and we want him here, we'll find a deal. It's there's very few players that I've ever lost because I couldn't find a deal. Obviously there's going to be a few that just priced out or whatever, but I really feel, in Charlie's case and Marchment's case, it's a two-way street. As much as we want them, they got to want to be here too. So give them some time here, let them settle in with their families, see if they love Columbus, and then at the right time, we'll try to get something done.
Jack Reeves has been a great story for the Blue Jackets. And again, like I mentioned off the top, I think all of our eyebrows are raised. Like, man, same goaltender back-to-back. Once upon a time, you remember, like that was a regular occurrence. Like you're the number one goaltender, you're playing back-to-back games. You just deal with it. And now the feeling is the numbers don't support it. But there was Jack Reeves in net again last night in another 3-star performance for Jack Reeves. Do you have a thought on this goaltender specifically this year? I think a lot of us looked at this season and said, you know what? It feels like around Christmas time, this guy will be ready to grab the number one spot. How does his GM feel about it?
Well, he's certainly played well all season, and I think one of the reasons he can play back to back. First, you got to look at how many shots he was taking the night before, which wasn't too bad, and then the style he plays. He's not a big guy. Maybe that sometimes works against him with some of the high shots, but it might work for him because he when he goes down, he gets up pretty quick. He's very athletic, and he's got a great glove. So. We didn't have a concern about coming. We talked about it after the game and didn't have any concern because of this. First of all, he's a great athlete. And as you said, he's one of the best kids I've ever been able to manage. So these are the kind of guys you pull for. And I know the players love to play in front of them. So, I don't think you're going to make it a regular, with the travel and everything and,
sure.
Type of games. But I think in this situation, it made sense for us to come back with them in Ottawa. And he proved us right.
What is the difference now with Damon Severson, who looks like a much different defenseman than we've seen the last couple of years? What's the difference?
Well, he's playing, he's playing with a lot more confidence. He's getting more ice time right now. And I think, playing till Werenski went out, he was playing with Z. And I think that gives him, the last few games, we switched him up. He was playing with Provolov for a long time. But I think playing with Werenski's helped his game. He doesn't feel like he has to be that offensive guy that sometimes he wants to be. And then just watch him play here with Matejchuk the last few games with Werenski being out. He just looks so comfortable now. And, we talked about it this morning. We were talking about it that, whatever he's doing, we got to keep it going because he's playing his best hockey in the year and a half since I've been here. That's for sure.
Yeah, he looks fantastic for you guys. I want to swing back to something I mentioned earlier quickly. How did the general manager see the sequence with Mason Marchment, Matthew Schaefer, and then Matthew Barzal, which resulted in a fine for the Islanders player? How did you see that?
Well, if you go back and look at it, obviously on that play, Mason tripped him when he didn't knee him or anything like that. That some people are saying if you watch the clip, he tripped him, and I think probably the Islanders, which I understand that felt that maybe there was a knee involved. They're watching it like everybody else was at fast pace. I don't really want to speak. I think some of the GMs I talked to were surprised about that of the incident. And for me, when these things happen, you're just hoping your player's not hurt, and you move on from it. But you just hate to see this happen. Our game is hard to play as it is, and these kind of incidents. I know I watched it on the highlights on one of our sports center probably 9 or 10 times that night. It's not good for our sport either to see it, but to me that page is turned, and now we continue to move forward and try to win hockey games.
Well, it gets me to a place of conversation that I'm curious your thoughts on as someone who will have these discussions on a regular basis. And that is, so that turns into a fine for Matthew Barzal. There's only been 3 suspensions this year. and it's all like game here, game there. There's like nothing big. We had having this conversation on the show yesterday. I know there's not a lot of runway on the season so far, so maybe it's too early to have the conversation. But as a manager who's been at this for a really long time, are you surprised we've only seen 3 really small suspensions this year? Or is it just like, just one of those years?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to watch every single, we see almost every highlight, of course, that happens. Yeah. And, the biggest thing you want is the consistency from whoever's making these decisions. I've said that for years and years, that whether it was Coley for a while, Brendan Shanahan, and now George, the consistency is what we all want. And if this is the consistency that's going through the league right now and how it's being handled, you got to accept that and continue to go in that direction.
And another sort of GM issue was having this conversation a few weeks ago on the show too. I'm curious when here's the one for you, Don. When was the last time you had a conversation about we need to make the goalie equipment smaller?
That's been a while for me. Probably last summer. I did. I don't. There's some things I stay out of. I probably involved in too many things. It's probably one of the things I have stayed out. I know the league and Kay Whitmore do a great job of trying to control that and watch it. These guys are shooting the puck hard. If I'm a goalie, I'm saying, boy, I need more equipment. These sticks that we make these days, these $350 sticks that last 10 minutes. They've made them where they really get a lot of whip out. Guys are really shooting the puck. So I don't get carried away with it. I know people are watching it. Somebody's taking care of it, and that's all we can hope for.
Well, the point that I wanted to get to with it is, I remember Alain Vigneault making this point. He said if you want to score more goals, then the shooters need to work on their shot in the off season and not just lift. Goalies go and work on their craft, and forwards go and lift weights. And he was right. Like, everybody shoots now. We know all about things like, pre-shot movement and all these, foolishly we were taught when we were kids, you can't teach touch. Goal scorers are born, not made. Man, all the things now that we know that we're lied to about, like the way that offense can be coached now and how goals can be manufactured. And you don't just have to rely on drafting a quote unquote natural goal scorer. Like, to me, this is one of the areas where the game has changed profoundly, because now we all understand, you can teach touch and everybody can shoot. The technology's there with the sticks and the skating and all of that. And everyone's got shooting coaches and all different offensive designs as well. I just laugh because Alain Vigneault was right. If you want to score more goals, work on your shot. Don't worry about the goalie's equipment.
Yeah, it's a great point, because we went through I used to be on the competition committee where some people thought the nets should be bigger, and I never thought that was the answer. But there were some people that talked about it, and that's why you probably hear the most thing you probably hear from coaches talk about games is we need more traffic. We need more traffic in front of the net, so the goalie can't see it, because, the goalies are going to make most saves. If they see it, most time they're going to stop it. Obviously, there's the point blank ones that are more trouble, but if they see a puck from the blue line, they're going to stop it. They're all good and capable. So, creating more traffic. And then you see there's a lot of skill in the league, that go back for how many years ago, and you had the Michigan play start, and now you got guys doing that, trying. And even around that front of the net, though, I'm always amazed at the hockey sense some of these guys have, where, they're close to the goalie and would try to take a shot or try to beat them, and then they throw it behind their back to a guy standing in the post wide open. I give the players a lot of credit, because the hockey sense and using your imagination to create those chances, I think is tremendous for our game.
Last question for you. We'll let you get on with what's going to be another busy day. Is Adam Fantilli? I know it's like what's not to like about this player. Where's the GM at right now on Adam Fantilli?
Yeah, I think he's taken. Every year, he came in the league as a young player, and every year, he's gotten better. He had a little slow start last year. Second half of the year, he was tremendous for us, and this year he's going from there. He's what he loves to be on the ice. He loves to play this game. He's a dedicated hockey player. You could see all that, and now you're seeing the results from it. And the guys love to play with them. He's more of a shooter sometimes than just a natural passer as a centerman. But even last night, we had the play where he made a great play at the blue line, threw it to Marchment, and he threw it across to Marchenko. Is one of the prettier goals we scored this year. So he's capable of making those high-end plays. So he's only going to get better. You forget how young these players are and how they came in at 18 years old. He's going to continue to get better.
It's last time you and I spoke about him, I brought up some point about not being 100% every single moment, every single time. Like, he seems like, I try to pay attention to him as much as I can. He seems like he's a different player now. Like, he gets that comfort. And when I watched we started this conversation up and talking about the juniors. Like, I'm watching Michael Misa play. It's not a knock. It's just like, this is where he's at. Everything is 100% on every single play, not mixing up speeds or anything like that. And I look at Fantilli and I go, like, he was like that, a couple of years ago as well. Like, that is one of the things that kids need to get to at a place in their career.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing you've got to remember, that and when they're young, they're like Adam's learning, they're going to get paid, they believe, on their goals and points. There's a lot of money being paid. And if they don't score, they're not going to make as much money. But what you learn is, and I think Adams, because we had these conversations with this representation and him, as he gets more 360, 200-foot player, that's going to get more ice time from his coach. If you're responsible defensively, you're going to get more ice time, and then that's going to give you more opportunities offensively too. So don't worry about the points. If you're a skilled player and you deserve it, they're going to come. You're going to make so much money in your life that you're not going to have to worry about it. But don't make that the focal point of just worry about, if you. Now I don't think Adam's like that, but I've been around guys, if you lose 5-3 and they score 3 goals, they're happy as can be. Adam's not that type player as a team guy, but I always say to these young guys, just play your game. If you do everything right, you're going to make mistakes, but if you play where the coach, you see him out there at the end of the games, you see him out there in tough situations, that's because the coach trusts you, and that's going to lead to more offense for you.
You're always generous with your time. Don, thanks so much for stopping by again. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the trip down memory lane too. I've always wanted to ask you about 77. So thanks for indulging me this time around.
Always a pleasure to be with you, Jeff. Happy New Year to you and your guests.
To you as well, to you and your family. And best of luck with the Columbus Blue Jackets. And best of luck at the Olympics for USA Hockey as well. Thanks so much for this, Don.
Thank you.
There he is, Don Waddell, the general manager of the Columbus Blue Jackets, yesterday, pulling off a move that a lot of people saw coming. We just weren't sure when it was going to happen. Yegor Chinakhov goes to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Danton Heinen in a second and a third goes the other way. You know what's wild about Chinakhov, Zack? And you heard Don talk about, like, an incredibly skilled player. No surprise that Kyle Dubas was in on him early once the trade request went out. When you look at his wrist shot, like, not snapshot, what do you think it clocks at? I was talking to someone about this last night. His wrist shot,
I couldn't even,
95.
Really?
And it's been clocked. There was a stick company that did a test with him. It clocks as high as 101. Wrist shots. So if someone, and maybe it's Dan Muse and the Pittsburgh Penguins, who knows?
Yeah.
If someone can find a way he's one of those old school shooter kind of guys. Yossi Puljujärvi was kind of like this, but he didn't shoot as hard as Chinakhov. They would do like a long drag before they released it. You used to see this in the 70s and 80s all the time. You don't have time to do it anymore. Like, you can't, like, the traffic and the pressure is just like too much. You can't do it. But when Chinakhov gets space to let that shot go, 95. And clocked as high as 101. Wrist shot, bud. That's what I've always wanted for the skills competition. Just do slap shots. What about wrist shots? Wouldn't you be curious who's got the hardest wrist shot? Like, what do you see more in games right now? Wrist shots or slap shots?
Yeah, wrist shots. I think there should be a way you can do it in some video games. It's not this as applicable, but a combination of time, accuracy, and strength, so it would be how hard the shot is, where there's a weighting factor in real time about the target competition, where it's not just hitting the targets, because you could go up there and basically put pucks on targets, but how quickly can you get it done shooting the puck as hard as you can and hitting all the targets accurately, where like there's a weighting factor here. So how hard it was shot in the amount of time and hitting all the targets combines to a final score, and then weighting it out on a leaderboard, I think would be kind of cool. Like they do that kind of stuff in video games, where it's not just one element of it, it's all of them put together. I think that would be kind of cool to add into it, because that could play in the factor of how hard the wrist shot is.
Yeah. There's two things that I want. I want fastest backward skater and hardest wrist shot. If we ever get back to doing like skills competitions. Hardest wrist shot and fastest backward skater.
Would you want them doing on the fastest backward skater just the laps like they do on the forwards, or would you have it be a straight line?
The pushback that I've gotten on the fastest backward skater is, and no team wants to see their player get injured at an all-star skills competition. Oh, he's out for the season. What happened? Freaking all-star game.
Crashed into the boards going backwards. The all-star.
I know.
Yeah. That's what I'm asking about, if you'd want it straight line, because I feel like that reduces risk of injury.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. Put padding on the boards. I don't know, what around the corners. I don't know what you have to do. But to me, it's just like a really natural curiosity. The other one, and this will never happen, I don't know why I even bother mentioning it, fastest referee.
Yeah. I think we've said that one, the referee skills competition.
Referee skills
competition. Talked about that on the show, yeah.
Most
you know what I just thought about?
Who can lay it flat?
Who can lay it flat? Like the saucer pass where it doesn't bounce, the puck drop on the face-off. It's like a zoomed-in camera, and it goes, sticks. Yeah. You know, I was just thinking about, when you watch the guys do the fastest skater and they don't wear the helmet so the hair is blowing in the wind?
Oh, yeah.
The backwards skater, no helmet. I would hope for, like, reducing injury, they wear the helmet, but the hair blowing this way on the guy's head as he skates backwards. Like Chris Tanev's hair coming out over his forehead. I don't think
really
he would
good.
be in it, but, you know.
No, I don't think... With all due respect,
I just mean because his hair
yes.
is the first thing that came to my mind. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's see if Stephen Ellis has a thought on this one as well. Stephen Ellis, who's actually in Minneapolis, where Zack and I are supposed to be, but air travel has had different ideas. Stephen Ellis joins us now on the sheet. So, how's our Airbnb doing? You lonely?
It's a little bit lonely. It's also very icy outside. So when you guys arrive eventually, don't slip. I was in an Uber yesterday that basically crashed into a snowbank. So it's an interesting place.
Well, can you put some salt on the sidewalk before Zack and I get there, so we're not doing a triple Indy when we try to walk to the door?
I haven't checked if salt's illegal here, but it seems like they don't use any of it.
Okay, whatever, gravel, anything, I don't know, table salt, I don't know what you could do. I'm not sure, but straw.
I'll find some paper towel.
I don't know, whatever
paper
you
towel,
can do.
Plastic bag. It's wild, man. It's wild.
So just talking to Don Waddell a couple of seconds ago, GM of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he was in the very first. Well, technically it wasn't the first because there were 3 that were non-sanctioned, but the first IIHF sanctioned U20, which is the World Junior Hockey Championships, as we all know. So this goes back 50 years. So there's nice Faceoff stories and Dale McCourt and John Anderson, essentially, Ben Gustafson, these types of guys. When you look at the tournament now, first of all, Czechia, as told at the beginning of this tournament, don't sleep on Czechia. They could be the ultimate dark horse here through all of it. I look at this in Canada. USA got pushed by the Slovaks yesterday. That was an exciting game. That game was super exciting. Canada blasted Denmark. Not a whole lot to learn there. In a squeaker with Latvia, playing Latvia if you're a Canadian is the feeling you have when you're wearing a tight belt and you've just had a big meal. That's the way every single shift feels like. And the Czechia game was just sloppy on both sides. I'm going to just be blunt about the whole thing. We'll start with Canada. What have you learned 3 games in about this Canadian team, if anything, given that they're not going to have their first significant test until Finland?
I've learned that Michael Hage is the best player on this team right now. That is a guy that's just like, you see him shoving past guys, getting the puck to the net, winning all the battles. He's the one getting the puck to his line mates, and that second line's been very good. You look at Brady Martin. We know how good Brady Martin can be. The farm kid. You look at Gavin McKenna. It feels like he's been great on the power play in particular. I think it's just trying to find out how to wake up everybody else. And we saw that yesterday. I wrote earlier this week that this was a situation where they needed those big stars to finally show up. They needed the guys like Michael Misa and Porter Martone and Braden Coots and other guys playing in the NHL. They needed those guys to come up and be a difference maker, and they were all last night. So I also really like seeing Keaton Verhoff play. I thought he looked really good, jumping in after not playing the first couple of games. So I think it'll be interesting to see kind of how they manage the lines the rest of the way, because it is hard to feel super confident just because you beat Denmark, because if anything, they were better against Denmark in the pre-tournament. But I think overall, they're going against a Finnish team that has had struggles against tougher competition. I know they've only lost one game, but they only scored that one goal. They weren't generating a lot of quality chances, and they beat Denmark. Not exactly a tough competition, but Denmark also played them really hard. So I feel like with Canada, it's just they got to go in here with all the confidence. They got to look at this last game and say, okay, yeah, we dominated. It wasn't a very tough game, but you got to go out there and make sure you got to start fast, you got to start hard, and you got to make sure that you're outworking Finland, because Finland can outwork you.
Yeah. There's one player specifically that I want to get your thoughts on, and that's Brady Martin. Now, I was having a conversation with someone, texting back and forth, watching the game last night, not in Minnesota, at home instead. I'm not sure if I've mentioned our travel issues so far this year. But, the point that we sort of arrived to was, for all the top players, right, and all the top guys end up on Team Canada, there is such a focus on skill, and you need that, obviously. But one of the reasons why Brady Martin really stands out as a unicorn is nobody plays like that anymore. And the guys that do play like that don't find their way onto the World Junior team. Once upon a time when Canada was reeling off 3 gold medals in a row, 5 gold medals in a row, there was 6 or 7 Brady Martins on the team. And now there's 1. And generally, there's none. It's just so much of a premium on skill, which all the top guys want to do. I just wonder, is this the sort of cost of having too many players focus too much on skill? There is a balance. Caleb Desnoyers is a wonderful 200-foot player. But generally, all the guys that find themselves on this team, they're there just because of skill. Has anything been lost? I'm trying to figure out why Canada has performed poorly the last couple of seasons, and we don't know what's going to happen this year. Is it, this is going to sound stupid, but it's not the first time I've sounded stupid. Is it that there's too much of an emphasis on skill with Canadian training now?
It's funny because you look at last year's team, and I'd argue the biggest issue with that was they didn't take enough skill. They didn't take Zane Parekh. They didn't take Michael Misa, and they took a guy like Matthew Cataford, and they took some other guys like Cole Bodwin, who is on this team right now, and I feel like he's not having a good tournament. But I think overall, there's definitely more skill, but you got to come together as a team. And you look at kind of the way international hockey has evolved the last couple of years, where you got the World Junior Summer Showcase. That's the one time that Canada and USA get to play as the U20 team. But then Sweden's playing in a ton of tournaments. Finland's playing a lot of tournaments. Czechia, Slovakia, Germany, Switzerland, they play in all these different tournaments in the summer. Sweden plays back-to-back tournament in August. So there's a lot more built-in chemistry there. And when you look at Canada at the U18s, they've won gold the last 2 years, and you look at all the success of the U17s. But you specifically look at the U18 tournament, and they're not bringing the best of the best every time. They're bringing the best of who is available to play because they're not in the CHL playoffs anymore. So I feel like a lot of the built-in chemistry for these other countries has allowed them to come together. Like Latvia, a lot of those guys have played together at the Latvian Pro League. There used to be a point where they were all playing Latvian, a team affiliate of a KHL team out there. And they got to really build that chemistry to the point where they go to the pre-tournament. They never had a ton of skill, but they knew how to play as a group. They knew how to grind, and everyone is together. And I think with Canada and USA in particular, more so Canada because they don't have that NTDP. It's just trying to find a good role for everybody. You look at a guy like Braden Coots who's playing in the NHL at the start of the season. He's like a third or fourth liner on this team. part of that is how do you adjust from being a top line player on your junior team and now go into this role? And I feel like there's so much adjustment going on as opposed to a team like Latvia where you have a guy who'll be playing third line. Well, that's what he plays all year long. He knows how to handle that role. He's not going to try and do too much, and there's that. So I always feel like there's a bit of a chemistry issue that Canada deals with. That's not a new thing. But I think because every other country is kind of caught up on how to develop better for this tournament throughout the year, I feel like it's something where it might just be a little bit overblown, and that maybe the Canada's team right now is not any worse or better than it was in 2006 or 7. It's just everyone else is kind of caught up.
Makes sense. USA, exciting game. Comeback game for the United States. It was a lot of fun to watch. James Hagens really planted a flag yesterday in that game and reminded people, why there was talk last year of him going first overall. AJ Spellacy, I thought, was out there just playing rock and roll for all 3 periods. Just wanted to flatten everything. He was Chicago Blackhawks third rounder. He just wanted to flatten everything that he came near. He was a lot of fun to watch yesterday. How do you see the 2-time defending champion USA so far, and from what you've seen?
Goaltending is definitely a bit of an issue in my opinion there, and I think it'll be interesting to see how this team looks when Cole Hudson returns. From my understanding, he's still day-to-day at this point, not completely ruled out of the game tomorrow against Sweden, which is a big one that decides whether they get first or second in the group. They're guaranteed one of those 2 spots. I think with them, the guy I want to talk about in particular, Will Zellers. This guy barely made this team. He wasn't even a name to the preliminary roster. He has been the best player in this team and maybe a top 3 player in this tournament. Adam Jurček, in my opinion, has been the best player in this tournament. We saw that beautiful goal he had against Finland. Yeah. But when it comes to what Zeller's been able to do, 3 game-winning goals, he's playing on the power play. He's doing a lot of the dirty work in front. And I think with this team, we really kind of need to see that depth show up because they lost Trevor Connolly, but they didn't have a Gabe Perreault or a Ryan Leonard this year. So they had to go out there and find some of these other weapons. And I think Will Horkoff has looked good. I think LJ Mooney had a really good game yesterday, kind of after that first period, whatever you would call that for the United States. And I think just in general, it's still a bit of a work in progress. But I think they're gelling. They're gelling really well, and the fact that they were able to battle back. I get it was Slovakia, and that's a young team, but the way they came together and everyone just put their full 1,000% effort there in that second half really showed this team can be very dangerous. So I would not want to play against them right now.
For casual fans that may pay attention to prospects twice a year, once at the World Juniors and once at the draft, of the draft eligible players that you've seen so far. Listen, Gavin McKenna got a hat trick last night, and that third goal, as you pointed out, was pretty special. But again, with all due respect, it was against Denmark. Whether it's Gavin McKenna, whether it's Ivar Stenberg, whether it's Keaton Verhoff, who you mentioned finally drew in yesterday for Canada, or any other players whose names we could hear coming up later on in June. Who's done themselves some good already?
I'm going to go with Viggo Bjork, a guy that heading into the season, potential top 5 prospect, and then he kind of just didn't do a whole lot offensively in Djurgården in the Swedish Hockey League. But at this tournament, actually, I'll even go to the pre-tournament. In those 2 games against Canada, I thought he was Sweden's best player. Right now, I think he's up to 3 goals in this tournament. He's been very good, and when Anton Frandell hasn't been able to drive the offense, having a guy like Bjork being able to go do everything else has been so valuable for them, and I think he's been better than Stenberg for sure. So I like him. I also like Albert Smits. He has been he's been kind of like the new Moritz Seider. He is the best Latvian prospect in the country's history, so there's a lot of excitement for him and for this team going forward. Also, he was asked kind of which players he likes to watch in the NHL, and he said, I have no favorite players. So I'm like, all right, you're blunt, you're to the point. I like that. Meanwhile, York said that he loves to he models his game after Sidney Crosby. So, hey, I like the boldness there.
Wow. Future Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to ever do it, Mount Rushmore flirting with. That's, why not? Bold enough to say it. Just put it out there. Just put it out there. Okay, provided we get there tonight, Zack and I, what are we in store for in Minnesota? Before we let you go, give us a scene set here. You've been to games at both rinks. Buzz in the city, buzz around the buildings. I know attendance for some games has looked like an issue, but give us a sense of what's happening in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Well, I've been waiting for you guys specifically to come because there's like these bumper car things that they have. These zero gravity bumper cars that look really fun right by the rink.
yeah?
I think that'll be a good.
I'm in.
Yeah, that'll be a good time.
I like that.
Lots of popcorn if you like popcorn. There's popcorn being made right over there.
Nice.
That's good. In terms of that, I'm also waiting to try the Juicy Lucy. Apparently, that's the big burger type of thing to have here. A bunch of cheese in the middle. I haven't had that, but yeah, no grocery store near us, so it's going to be a bit of a trek to go get some food if you want some. But overall, it's a fun city. It's like I've never been to Minnesota. I've enjoyed it over time. My whole time here between St. Paul and going to Minneapolis with the two rinks there being Ritter and 3M, which I wish both were holding the World Juniors, just because it'd be so close. But then you've got that football stadium there and kind of everything going on there. Like that is such a cool campus, the University of Minnesota. So I kind of wish I went there for school.
Where did you go?
I went to Ryerson, Toronto Metropolitan University.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's nice too. You get right downtown Toronto. That's okay. You're plugged into the city. That's all right. For an on-the-scene guy like you, that's got to be nice. Sweet spot of the bat. Well, hopefully we'll see you tonight sometime just before midnight if everything goes fine. Starting at 6:45 and everything is fine with our connector in Chicago.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the text from Zack. I'm waiting for the text from Zack saying we're canceled again.
Yeah, I know. Like, trust me, like all Zack and I are doing, just refreshing our email right now, just waiting for it to come in from Air Canada. Nonetheless, we cross our fingers and throw salt over our shoulder and hope that things work out well. Thanks, pal. Hopefully we'll see you later on tonight.
Thanks so much.
See you, Rumi. There he is, Stephen Ellis, who is enjoying Zack, a lovely Airbnb all to his own. Doesn't have to put up with two sloppy roommates like you and me.
Salt over our shoulders, and maybe he can throw some salt on the stairs.
Throw some salt.
I will say
stairs,
quickly,
yeah.
I do feel bad. Like, obviously, we're going to cover hockey, but I texted Steven and I was like, hey, I have these ideas of some things we can do for the Sheet and Daily Faceoff socials while we're there that aren't necessarily hockey things. And some of it was like food-related stuff, or me like going to the mall or going to the like. Here's what you can find in this rink and that kind of stuff. And we'll be like, okay, let's put some stuff out there. And Steven's just been there for 4 days on his own, just waiting for us to get there to do this stuff now. So all these things that I was like, hey, let's try this. He's on his own.
Here's what you know what the show is going to be. So when we get there, I was talking to Lou Nanny again this morning. Lou's great. Like he checks, like, you guys here yet? You guys here yet? You guys here yet? You know what you want to do? You just want to set up the camera when we go out to dinner. Just like lock off one camera, and we'll both put on lavs and just record the conversation. You can see your boy Jeffy just completely geek out. Like I'm a little like 12-year-old fanboy at dinner with Lou.
Okay.
All right. There's your show. There's your show. Two-part series probably. Maybe even longer, depending on how the conversation goes. But that's gonna be fun. Get to see Lou. And if we ever do get there, Lou's gonna come on. Lou's coming to the Airbnb. I've already talked him into it. I've already bent his arm. He's coming. So sweet
That's
Lou
good.
from
I'm
the
excited
city.
about that.
Yeah, man. Have you ever met Lou Nanny?
No, I have not.
Best guy.
I have not.
Best guy in the world. Best guy. You'll love him.
I just got a text from Amel. Please tell me your flight is good for tonight. Amel?
For those that don't know, Amel is our boss. Amel Delich, my producer from 32 Thoughts a million years ago, who's now our boss here at Nation Network. Well, has been for a while. Yep. So far, so good, boss. We're scheduled to get to the airport after that.
Who knows?
Into Chicago, then into Minneapolis. We'll see how it goes. So we got a couple of things to do, though, before we get there. One of them is one of our favorite segments around here. I speak personally. Maybe I speak for you, too. Hungry for Hockey History is a presentation of Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every hockey fan's experience all season long. What do you have for us today, Zack?
Okay, so bear with me here. December 30th, 1978. This one's a little longer. I'll explain it, but I think worth it.
Okay.
Correct me if I say the name wrong here as well. I apologize. But Frank Udvari, I believe.
Yeah, Frank Udvari, referee.
Okay, yeah. So Udvari for those out
Frank
there, becomes the oldest man to referee an NHL game when he comes out of retirement to officiate the game between the New York Islanders and Atlanta Flames at Nassau Coliseum. Udvari is a few days short of his 55th birthday and 12 years removed from his last game while he's serving as a supervisor of officials when Dave Newell has to leave with a bad cut. Udvari puts on Newell's striped shirt, borrows a pair of skates from Islander center Brian Trottier, and takes the ice to complete the game. The Islanders win 4-2, even though Udvari disallows a goal by Brian Trottier.
That is actually perfect. That is, thanks for the skates. Now, guess what? I'm washing out your goal. Frank Udvari, by the way, NHL's been blessed to have a lot of great ones. We think about Bill Chadwick is the reason we have hand signals. That was his idea, slash, hook, all of it, roughing. Like that was Bill Chadwick, the big whistle. Frank Udvari was a legendary one. And I often think about things like this. The incident that led to the Rocket Richard suspension in 1955 was Rocket Richard punching a linesman, right? Cliff Thompson punched him after an incident with Hal Lako. And that got Rocket Richard suspended, so he didn't win the scoring title that year, 1955. Yeah. Bernie Geoffrion did. Clarence Campbell famously went to a Montreal-Detroit game at the Forum, which led to the Richard riots because Campbell had just suspended the Rocket and he wasn't going to win the scoring title. The referee at that game, when Rocket Richard punched Cliff Thompson, was Frank Udvari. Now, I like there's a style. I mean, I don't think he invented it, but there's a Japanese director many of you know by the name of Akira Kurosawa, and in one of his more famous movies, a movie called Rashomon, what happens is the way the story unfolds is there's a murder, and then the story is told from the perspective of all the people around the murder. And before you think I'm being too pretentious, Gilligan's Island did a send-off on this too, like did a spoof on it. So I'll do the highbrow and the lowbrow at the same time. But I really wish that at that time someone would have followed that formula for the Rocket Richard incident, including getting it from the referee's point of view, to get Rocket, to get Clarence Campbell, to get coaches, to get fans. Because, and I've got a video of this. I'm really rambling here, but okay, I'm just going to go for it anyway. So I remember, CBC has this footage, and I've got a copy of it, of the Detroit Red Wings on the train coming back from Montreal after that game that was canceled because of the riot. And Gordie Howe is being interviewed about it, and Gordie doesn't want to say anything about Rocket, even though him and Rocket hated each other like bad, just like Crosby and Ovechkin. They were the original Crosby Ovechkins, right? It was Rocket Richard and Gordie Howe. But he was being very diplomatic and being very Gordie about it. Ted Lindsay wasn't diplomatic about it. And Jack Adams, who would have been the coach and general manager, said like, well, Rocket was warned. Like, he knew that this was coming. And he referred to an incident with a guy for your Toronto Maple Leafs by the name of Bob Bailey. And Bob Bailey was like, I'll be blunt, he was a rat. Just ran around like he was a rat. Okay. And so what happened was there's a fight, and I've never, like, until I saw this, and it's wild. There's a fight at Maple Leaf Gardens. Okay. And like, so all the guys are on the ice pulling and shoving away. Bob Bailey, I'm sure you've never thought about doing this in a fight or thought about it. It might be the only time that's ever happened in hockey. Grabs a handful of snow off the ice and rubs it in Rocket Richard's face. Okay? You think of like who in the NHL, Brad Marchand, who in the NHL would do something like this? He grabs a hand, and this is like, and he rubs it in Rocket Richard's face, but then Richard goes banana sandwich. Richard goes over to the bench and grabs a couple of sticks off the bench to chase Bailey around the ice. And Clarence Campbell said, if there's anything more like this, you're sitting down for a long time. It's going to be a major suspension. And Jack Adams is talking about like, hey, you know what? Like, he was warned after the Bob Bailey incident. And I saw that. I'm like, what's the Bob Bailey incident? Then I got one of my tape trading friends who sent me the video. I'm like, oh my God. That is incredible that someone would actually grab snow off the ice and rub it in Rocket Richard's face during a brawl, and then Rocket would grab sticks and chase him around the ice. But again, like that comes back to you have an incident, journalism 101 or storytelling 101, really. You have an incident and then you retell the story from a whole bunch of different perspectives. And I really wish that there was one done of the Rocket Richard riots and everything that led up to that, because that lived on CBC probably for like 5 minutes and then it's just been in the archives. But that was a pretty telling comment from Jack Adams about like, he was warned after the Bob Bailey incident. And if he hadn't said that on CBC, it might have been lost to history and we never would have really known the backstory. Anyhow, Frank Udvari was the referee.
Yeah, the snow is kind of
snow
awesome.
in the face.
I've never heard that. Never even thought about doing that.
It was right by the boards.
It was, for that matter. So.
It was right by the Montreal Canadiens bench. Just like, snow piles up, like right along. Just Bob Bailey just grabs a handful right in Rocket's face.
You know what? It's kind of funny too, thinking about the difference in reactions had he like put it down his jersey or put it on his back or something like that, because
that ain't
putting
Bob Bailey
it right
style,
in the face is gonna make you go nuts. Like if somebody's doing that to me, my wires are crossing.
Oh yeah,
chasing him with sticks is also.
Rocket chasing Bailey around the ice with sticks. This was when there was respect in the game, as the old timers keep telling me that there's no respect in hockey anymore.
Very early on, you and I doing the show, you told me how many of these guys, if you look back at the incidents, how many of these guys would be in jail for things that they've done on the ice.
It wasn't as it was. List. Yeah, there was like no rules, no holds barred. Like these guys, honestly, like there was like real hatred in the game once upon a time. Like Bailey and Rocket, and Gordy and Rocket, like, yeah, they really didn't like each other.
It's kind of why I a little bit liked the Porter Martone. Like, obviously, it's disrespectful what he did, where he tapped the guy on the butt in the which game was that? The Czech game,
Czechia game,
I believe. Yeah, Czech game.
Yeah.
Like, it's disrespectful. Sure, I'm not going to disagree with that, but I don't know. I like it. It's awesome. Build hate. Hate's good. Hate's good for selling tickets. What? Hey, just for anybody out there, why do you think Four Nations was so popular? It's not because
the skating
they were
and
holding
passing
hands and singing "Ring Around the Rosie."
It was the passing and it was the fast skating. That's why everyone got really excited about the Four Nations, all the pretty plays.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. It had nothing to do with the bigger picture conversation politically, and then bring it onto the ice and all the fights and all the shit talking, and it had nothing to do with that. It was because it was good, skilled hockey, and that was the only reason we watched. That was the only reason anybody outside of hockey circles turned on the games, and why Brady and Matthew Tkachuk were plastered all across television in the U.S. for weeks to come. That was it. It's because it was good, skilled hockey.
Yes, that's why
hate is fun.
It's good. Well, you know the line. We're going to have to do something about all this fighting, or we're going to have to build bigger buildings and bigger arenas. All right, wrap up and cross our fingers we don't get an email from Air Canada. The Sheet is powered by FanDuel. Play your game with FanDuel. It's the NHL season, and FanDuel is your home for all the action on the ice. From Blue Line to BetSlip, we've got you covered all season with unique promos, live offerings, and more features to let you play your game. Missed puck drop? No sweat. With a live same-game parlay, you can build up your bets until the final buzzer. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook today and play your game. Please play responsibly, 18 plus, and physically located in Ontario. If you have questions or concerns about your gambling or the gambling of someone close to you, please contact Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. You've been outdoing yourself lately, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So I think I've prefaced each of the last ones by being like, oh, this one might be the stupidest one I've had. Nah, this one is just bad. I'll be honest. There's a lot of moving parts today going into today's show, getting everybody ready and then leaving. It was hard for me to find one.
Okay.
So, or like put together like a really good connecting one. So Just bear with me,
right.
please, Jeff.
All right,
please.
We're bearing.
'Cause I have to see you in person later, so ready?
Yeah, about an hour in the airport.
Whenever I get in trouble in my own zone, Jeff, with the puck, I was taught to do this, and now I carried this with me, and I Riley like to use the glass. Morgan, Riley, Anders, Lee, Cody, glass. I Riley like to use the glass.
Paquin breakout, high off the glass. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry, man. This is so bad. The $5 pays
like
1,084.
Glass. Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't want to criticize you because I don't want you to stop. And one day you're just going to hit like a massive home run because you're taking like really hard rips at every single ball. So I'm not going to criticize you. I'm just going to leave it out there. And one day we're just going to have to do a collage of the best from our FanDuel late show segment to conclude every program from Zack Phillips.
Yeah. It's like not even a blooper reel. It's the complete opposite of like the best of the best. It's the worst of the sheet. This is a compilation of these moments. These
someone told me a while ago. It's really great advice. Don't try to get the things out of your life that make you cringe. Try to get cringing out of your life. Just let people be who they are. Don't
so you're
try
saying
to
this
get.
Was good.
Don't. This was good because I'm following the philosophy of don't try to get the things that make you cringe out of your life. Get the fact that you do cringe out of your life. Just let people be people. Everyone's got their own lives. Everyone's on their own path. This is the path you've chosen at the end of every show. So I'm just gonna get out of the way. I'm just gonna get out of the way. There's other good advice. Like,
you call it what it is.
Too.
This one sucked.
We don't know yet. We don't know yet. No, we don't know. This is the Zen farmer. Maybe. We don't know. What if this hits big? What was that? $5 is bringing in 1,000?
Yep, correct. Never know. It'll pay for our flights to Minnesota.
We could land in Minneapolis tonight, and games are all over. And guess what? Guess who's going to the pay window? Guess who's going to the pay window? Yeah. And then there's of course
Paying
Jeffy
for Stevens Juicy Lucy.
Oh god. Yeah, what was he describing that burger? I'm like, give me a scene set from Minnesota. Oh, the burgers.
We've been told by many people that we've got to get the Juicy Lucy burger. It's cooked with cheese inside, I believe. It's melted inside the patty.
Can I ask a question? How does that? Yeah. How is that different? Like, why is that different than just having the cheese melted on top? Okay,
so
I am not
like it's not.
Okay, all right. And when I went to Rochester earlier this year, everyone's telling me about garbage plates. Had to have a garbage plate.
What is the garbage plate?
Oh, you don't know what a garbage plate is? Hang on,
No.
Garbage plate is hot dog or hamburger meat, hot meat sauce, other condiments. It's essentially just like a bunch of crap thrown on a plate. It's called a garbage plate.
It looks fine. Okay, I mean I get it. I get the idea of it. I'm not in love with this. The Juicy Lucy looks really good. Yeah, the garbage plate.
Okay, let's look that up on the way because I got it. You got to do the same thing. We got to the airport. We'll look it up today when we get to the airport as we sit there and wait for the inevitable call from the warden. All right. Thanks to Don Waddell for stopping by. Thanks to the great Todd Sharrock from the Communications Department of the Columbus Blue Jackets for on-ramping Don today. Thank you both, gentlemen. Thanks to Stephen Ellis, DFO prospect expert and draft guru. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully we'll see you in a few hours. Thanks to you for watching. Thanks to you for listening. Appreciate both. We'll talk to you tomorrow, and when we do, we'll have an Olympic roster for Team Canada to discuss, and hopefully we'll be doing it from Minneapolis. Otherwise, you are stuck with me and that chimp. That guy there. Talk to you tomorrow. Jeff Merrick along with you. Hope you enjoyed the program today. If you did, or maybe even if you didn't, they can't all be gems, folks. Please hit the subscribe button. Also a reminder, every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, Johnny Lazarus, Colby Cohen, I call them the Impact Players. You might know them as a tandem that makes up the Morning Cup of Hockey. Also DFO Live at noon Eastern. This year, your host Tyler Yaremchuk alongside Carter Hutton. Full day's worth of programming right here on Daily Faceoff, your favorite YouTube hockey channel. And as a reminder as well, Zach Phillips, our producer here for the sheet, said if you subscribe, he'll buy you a